everybody, and welcome to another episode of Die Hard Dialogue with your very disgruntled, angry, sad, just discombobulated Jets fan host, Gary Vaynerchuk, with my partner in crime, a happy, ascending forward, Jesse. I'm incredibly sad, Jess, is would be the word I would use. I don't know if you saw the Jets-Bills score.
I did.
It didn't go well.
It didn't go well. Mike White really fell back down to earth.
I was hoping for an extra couple weeks, like Linsanity, where I could just make pretend for a little while. It just didn't click per se.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And I felt very bad for you.
Thank you.
Because it was your birthday.
It was my actual birthday, which, listen, here's how my life works. Everything in my real life is going so well that I need the Jets to continue to do what they're doing because I care about it. It's the one thing I care about that's silly. And I feel like when the Jets do things like, oh, this is going to be a great life. Meanwhile, your situation is looking better. That was a very impressive Patriots win.
Yeah. I mean, Mac Jones looked great. It was definitely a nice day to be a Patriot, as they say. It's always a good day to be a Patriot, but but we're on to this week, right? It's a new week, fresh slate. If we've learned anything in the NFL so far, right? It's that you truly cannot predict anything that's going to happen.
Yeah, I was blown away by the Niners-Rams game. I did not see that one coming.
Is that because OBJ is the Grim Reaper, just going from team to team? Just I saw a meme. There was just blood in the door behind him from every team he keeps visiting.
I don't know if this is an OBJ problem at this point yet, but we will get into that. We will get into Jets Dolphins. But first, we have two very thoughtful, brilliant, handsome men here to talk about a key matchup in this week's NFL.
Yeah, Washington football team at the Panthers. Two illustrious guests, as you said. We have Ben Standig, senior writer for The Athletic. We have Standing Room Only podcast host. Then we have Tony Dunn. He is the host of the C3 Panthers Podcast, the longest running Panthers pod. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I got to say, big fan of Gary V for a long time, man.
Thank you, bro.
Honored to be here. Your grind is second to none, homie.
I appreciate it, my man. Thank you for that. It's great to have both of you here. And let's just get right into this game. Both teams coming in with some momentum, Jess.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the two most surprising wins of week 10, these guys. I mean, Ben, how are you feeling? Big win against Tampa. Hello, is stuff getting turned around here?
Well, I'm not willing to go that far, but I'm just happy we changed the narrative because week after week, the storylines may have changed slightly, but it was basically the same deal. This underachieving defense wasn't living up to the hype. Questions at quarterback. Obviously, there's the big overhang of the ownership situation and all that. And it's just kind of what is the point of living here? Why do we even talk about these games when it's just over and over again, the same thing? And at least for 1 week, we have a different storyline. The fact that they did step up. It was their best performance start to finish. Sometimes we discuss what's the key. Third down defense. You got to run the ball. Sometimes it really is just who shows up and plays. And Washington showed up. They played hard for 4 quarters. Tampa Bay looks kind of out of it, especially in the beginning. Washington took advantage and they won. I don't know if they can keep this up. Great. We'll see. They had a big run at the end of last year, but that's the big question. Is this something that was a one-off or is this sustainable? And that's what we'll find out this week.
But in typical bad team fashion,
yes.
When I saw that, I literally, I'm in full misery loves company mode right now. So I'm out there looking for sadness. So obviously I'm looking at Detroit a lot and, in other places like that, but Jacksonville and Houston, but Washington's a good place to look for solace in sadness. They get this great win and I'm happy for all my Washington friends, but to lose the youngster dominant defensive player, I mean, that just, it feels like a cliche of bad luck franchises, bad runs in franchise history. You know, I'm also 46 years old. My entire childhood, the Redskins, were just, you know, that was the Joe Gibbs era, right? Including the improbable Super Bowl runs with Williams and Rippon. And so it's been weird to see that franchise be where it's been. And that just sucked. It's tough to see. Chase has been so good since he's been drafted.
For sure. And you and I are around the same age, and I grew up, this was the team of my youth. And, you know, it's been well discussed in these parts, how things have changed, unfortunately, for the last 20 years. But okay, last year you get this kid, Chase Young, the second pick in the draft. He lives up to the hype, rookie of the year. This defense, I think people were a bit overrating them based on what they did last year, but they were still an up and coming unit with top 10 potential. And he was a big reason why. Without a franchise quarterback, he effectively has been the face of this franchise. And yeah, he's had a bit of a sophomore slump, certainly statistically, but to have him go down, it is a huge blow. He is a building block. They need him to play better, but they need him on the field. They need his energy, his enthusiasm. And without him, yeah, that's a huge loss, on top of the fact that their other starting defensive end, Montez Sweat, is already going to be out several weeks with a jaw issue. So a blow short term and a blow long term, because you want to see what you have with Chase Young, how you're building. And yes, it is exactly what happens to bad franchises. It seems, even when you have an amazing win like you do with Tampa, part of the story is you lose a really good player for some time.
Tony, like, what's the feeling in Carolina with Cam Newton back? I think everybody was just absolutely blown away what he did on his first 2 times with the ball when he went in that game. I mean, what's the general feeling with the fans?
I tell you, you wanted misery loves company, but you're not getting it here today. Just last week, I would have been with Gary over there crying about how the season was over. There's no hope. And it was this damn Sam Darnold. That was the problem. I know he's a fan of Sam Darnold, but all it took was Cam Newton to come in and breathe some life into this team. And look, it may just be symbolic. It may be, and hopefully it is more than that, but the Panthers defense was primed and ready to roll and has been one of the top defenses, and would be, I think, arguably the top defense in the league had it not been for an inept offense on the other side of the ball. So you bring in Cam Newton, and I'm telling you, he means so much to the Carolina Panther fan base, so much. I mean, he's just important to us, and there's so many storylines that are going to be converging with this team as Washington football team comes with Ron Rivera coming back to Bank of America, Taylor Heineke in town, Scott Turner, the former offensive coordinator, and now Cam Newton with this new coach in Matt Rule, or newer coach, the new owner. I got to tell you, Bank of America has been a place where opposing fans have taken over from week to week, but not this week, because there's going to be a lot of number ones rolling around the bank. Right. And, you just got to hope that he will be enough to inject life into this offense, which was super struggling. And with Christian McCaffrey, I think it can happen. And I think that Cam Newton still has some gas in the tank. We'll see how quickly he can, get that engine revved up and going. But man, Panther fans are excited because we were talking draft just a week ago, because it just didn't seem like we could score any points, and it just kind of seemed hopeless. And that shows you how quickly the tide can turn in the NFL. I mean, and you've seen it from week to week, and the parity is there. It exists. And I guess the NFL is happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps fan bases super engaged. And, I think to your point, Tony, I mean, there's this rivalry for the hardest core fans that understand that much of what's going on in Washington has a lot of, DNA in the Carolina system that was there. I think let's take a step back, because you're right. I am a Sam fan, and I'm genuinely curious because I know how hardcore your stuff. What wasn't, obviously I watched week 1, and to be very frank, I wasn't bullish after week 1. I thought Sam should have done more against the kind of defense that now I think people are starting to realize that are. I was like, that wasn't, besides one big play to Robbie Anderson, I was like, that was okay, second half adjustment. So what went downhill? I mean, obviously he was rushing for a bunch of touchdowns early on. Why did it get so bad so fast from your perspective?
Well, yeah, is that when we were all looking to see what was going to happen with Sam Darnold, you kind of, as a fan, you got that optimism that the guys know, that rule in them see something that they're going to be able to teach Darnold and coach him up, and you point to his age.
The Jets are this franchise screwed up, so we're going to take advantage of that.
Exactly. I mean, the guy had the pedigree, supposedly, that everyone's told us. You wonder, is it Gase that messed up Sam Darnold? Is it Sam Darnold? It just seemed like it was so bad in New York, it couldn't get worse. And then through 3 games, Sam Darnold played okay. I mean, not great, but okay. Is that limited the turnovers? Was not throwing the ball downfield all that much and not really converting in the red zone, but not making the boneheaded mistakes. Now, the Carolina Panthers have something very much in common with the New York Jets, and that is it's an offensive line. It's horrendous, right? And Sam Darnold just struggled behind that. And I think I think what it is Sam Darnold's shell shock, man. You're going with the David Carr kind of answer. Exactly. I mean, 72 sacks for David Carr, and he could never recover after that. And Sam Darnold just beaten, man, it feels like, mentally. And he says he believes in himself, but boy, this team turned the page on him real quick. All of a sudden his shoulder was hurt out of kind of nowhere. They tried to say that he was benched one week, and then next they bring him back in. He plays awful. And then they come back the next day and they say, well, he's getting MRI. And we all knew that was a quick exit to IR for him right there. I think that Sam Darnold could be good. He's one of those players I think that needs the right circumstances, but sadly, the NFL is not a place where that is all that common, right? Is that you have to succeed in the circumstances you're given. And the Carolina Panthers offensive line isn't great, but you got to find a way to overcome that. And we were starting to question the coaching staff and the wisdom and the direction of making that decision. And man, I think they questioned it really quickly too by going out and getting Cam right away. And it's kind of something that the Washington football team has probably been under criticism a little bit for, is when they've hit these kind of adversity points, not going and making that aggressive move to overcome it. And that's kind of the Ron Rivera mantra, when Fitzpatrick was hurt, and then they said, we're just going to roll with Heineke. So the Panthers go and get Cam, and they had to swallow their humble pie. I mean, if you think about it, they cut Cam, go and get Teddy Bridgewater, cut Teddy Bridgewater, go and get Sam Darnold. And David Tepper, though, he's ready to win, it seems like.
So I have a question.
Ben, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary.
Ben, how's Heineke played? Because, full disclosure, my brother and I have an NFL representation business, and Rep Kyle Allen, who's touched both of your organizations. So I probably root for Heineke to hit the bed week. And so has he been? Like, can Kyle get in there? Can we get a little rep here? Like, what's the punchline there?
I was aware of that. I mean, look, I think there's a couple ways to look at it, considering where Taylor Heineke came from.
Yes.
Late in 2020, he's famously he's sleeping on his sister's couch, thinking he's out of football. Washington hit some desperation with quarterback call. They have signed him to the practice squad. Things happen. He ends up playing a playoff game against Tom Brady. Balls out, has a really good game, gets himself a contract. Then Fitzpatrick is hurt. He's the number 2, elevated to the starter. And based on that, he's been pretty good. I think he's made a name for himself in this league as a guy who, at a bare minimum, is going to be a pretty high-end backup. He's got a lot of energy. He's never afraid of the moment. He can make play with his leg, doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the tallest guy, all that. But in terms of what is Washington's answer at quarterback? I mean, I think that jury is out at a minimum. I think they recognize they probably have to, if their goal is to, truly contend for a Super Bowl, not just once, but year in and year out, you're probably going to have to get a better option. I think if he had a rough week against Tampa Bay, which I think most people were expecting, or at a minimum Washington to lose, which would have been a 5th straight loss, I think it's possible we may have seen Kyle Allen, if not this week, sooner than later, just to see something different. Ron Rivera is a Kyle Allen fan. He traded for Kyle Allen last year rather than signing Cam Newton as off the street and, all that. So I think Heineke more than did enough to keep the job for now and, potentially for the rest of the way. I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick will be back this year. It's heading in that direction. So, other than at some point Washington falls truly out of the playoff for a picture and they decide, okay, let's let Kyle Allen play just to see. I think Heineke's there now until further notice.
Where's this game? Give me some data, Jess. Let's get some predictions from these men that are clearly very knowledgeable.
Yeah. Panthers 3.5-point home favorites, Washington football team, 3.5-point road dogs. Total for this game is just 43. Panthers minus 170 on the money line. Washington football team plus 150 on the money line. So
Boys?
Ben, the question is, does the Washington football team have enough offense to go against this Panthers defense? What's your prediction here?
I mean, there's so many variables and wild cards here just from my side, let alone I have no idea what to make of the Cam Newton situation. I mean, I know he gave some energy and obviously him being Carolina is a whole other, it goes beyond just the football, but there is the football component. And I don't know that he can play 4 quarters of winning football. Bill Belichick's decided to move on. And Ron Rivera has now decided multiple times not to bother. So we'll see about that. I think from the Washington perspective, their defense has been getting a little bit better. They do lose Chase Young, but I think if they can give a sustained effort for 4 quarters, that's a low bar. If they can do that, then I think they have a chance because Carolina's offense, to me, is a bit questionable. But Christian McCaffrey is going to have a huge day against Washington's linebackers, I would think. So I would probably pick Carolina to win because they're at home and all that. But at least I feel somewhat better about Washington's chances than I did, going into last week.
So we need a score prediction from you. Gary likes a score prediction.
What was the spread again? I'm sorry. What was the number there?
Yeah. So the Washington football team, 3.5-point road dogs. So Panthers favored by 3.5.
All right. If I pick Carolina to win, I'll go to 24-21. So Washington can cover.
Okay.
Boy, he just went right on the money for the over-under right there. The over-under is 43 on this. There's a lot of cool data points like you guys sent over here is that the over-under here at 43 is tough because of the uncertainty surrounding these teams. Carolina's defense just top rate. And now if the offense can get kicking a little bit, that's going to help the defensive production out, I think. I like the 3.5 a ton. And this is why is that first of all, Washington's defense has been lackluster this year, it seems like, is that we keep waiting for all the names, and now Chase Young's gone. Montez Sweat has the broken jaw. You kept waiting for that typical Ron Rivera grind these teams down. They've only held teams under 20 points twice this year. I believe it was the Denver Broncos and the Buccaneers, strangely, and the Buccaneers beat themselves just as badly as the Washington football team beat them. Christian McCaffrey, I agree, is the guy that is going to put up the points here. Last week, he had 10 catches, 66 receptions, 95 yards on the ground. Now, the Washington football team's defense has been stingy with the running game this year. But Carolina has been stingy when it comes to other teams' passing attacks. I think Heineke makes some mistakes this week. And I tell you this, is I'd probably stay away from the over-under because of the uncertainty with it, is that you could come out and the Carolina defense could really put the screws to these guys and grind this out. And I mean, I don't know if Carolina is going to go out and put 30 points up on Ron Rivera's team. Now, at the same time, though, I think that Carolina 3.5, give me those points. I'm excited. Yes, I'm a fan. I told you I was excited about Cam Newton, but there's 5 or 6 reasons I think they can cover here. Number one, the excitement alone with Cam Newton coming to town, his first game in Bank of America. That place, good luck, Taylor Heineke, trying to hear anything. You're going to be running on the silent count all game long. Christian McCaffrey is back, made it through 4 quarters, really had a productive game last week against a very good Arizona Cardinals defense. The Panthers defense creates opportunities, man. They're going to score. They can really put Heineke in some difficult positions. And really, I've got questions about the Washington football team's defense. The Bucs beat themselves late in that game. 2 early turnovers. There was a holding call on a big down there late in the third quarter. And no damn Darnold, bro. All of a sudden, all of this adds up to a Carolina Panther victory, my man.
Okay, but
now
what's
the
your
point-
Tony,
exact?
what's the score?
Oh,
Yeah,
point
score.
total. I'm going to say somewhere of probably have 3 field goals. Oh, and I want to ask you guys, will Joey Sly miss a field goal? Right. Good gosh, this guy, a former Panther guy right there.
Mhm.
I'm going to say this is I think
Actual
that the
score.
Panthers,
Actual score.
Yeah. All right, I got you. I'm going to say this 27-13 Carolina Panthers, and that still puts it at the under, I believe.
So listen, I'm going to jump in here, Jess. As you know,
Yeah.
I was incredible last week in my prediction of the other game.
You were.
I was. It was the Falcons and the Cowboys. And I looked at it, I analyzed it, I used all my human intuition, my 40 years of football knowledge, and I said that the Falcons were going to go into Dallas, create a turnover on the opening drive, and stun the Dallas Cowboys. As we all know, that wasn't exactly how it played out. I don't think that's how it played out. By the way, the Jets
Maybe not.
By the way, the Jets are getting dominated. I look down and I see 31-3 Dallas. And I'm like, I've got to do this show next week and talk about
Yeah.
how I had this weird feeling that the Falcons were going to do something weird. They did something weird.
They did something weird. They got beat by 40 points. That was weird.
This is an incredibly difficult game. I totally understand where both guys are coming from. Really, I have no idea what's going on at all with this game. This is genuinely an exact game that I would never, ever bet, talk about, put my name behind. This is why I hate this show. This is why I didn't want to do this show. Just the fact that I have to be on the record where it's just genuinely difficult to figure out what the situation is. Again, being in the football business, another Vayner Sports, one of the best humans I know, Matt Paradis, is, now hurt. That offensive line that Tony was referring to, he was the most consistent player, at least one of the 2 most consistent players on that line. So it now goes down. Again, I'm a little bit out of the loop because I'm in complete despair. So I know that the Cardinals were very undermanned in the game that the Panthers won. So, I don't get super duper excited about the Panthers. Listen, Washington's got a lot of headaches, but I do think Tony's energy about all their headaches and optimism needs to be curtailed a little bit, because it's not like the Panthers, are in so much of a better space. That being said, I do think there are occasional players that are so good and so disruptive that in situations like this, it's an interesting variable. And that is C-Mac, right? He just is that kind of guy that is maybe the biggest difference in the entire game. I mean, by the way, the Jets beat the Panthers week 1 if C-Mac was hurt. He is their offense. It just really, outside of the bomb to Robbie Anderson, they did nothing besides C-Mac. And they tend to do nothing besides C-Mac, when he's been healthy. And so, I think it's a really interesting one.
Well, I'll just say, if in terms of, I don't know where he was going to go with the Christian McCaffrey, but part of Washington's struggles this year have been linebacker. Cole Holcomb and the rookie Jamin Davis, their first round pick, have really, been kind of up and down. Ron Rivera said he did like some of their work in coverage this week, but in general, that's been a problem. They've been using Landon Collins a bit more from the deep safety, now more in the box. He's been playing a lot better in that front, and he may end up being a guy that pays attention to McCaffrey a lot. But that, to me, that type of player feels like where another team could take advantage. And that's of a relatively normal running back, let alone a guy with McCaffrey's status. Although interesting, you mentioned Gibson. It's constantly the comparison of Gibson to McCaffrey over here, because Ron Rivera obviously had them both. And Gibson came off one of his better games. He's been banged up most of the year, but he really ran tough against Tampa Bay, and that was a really good sign to see. And he's a really interesting player, can play a lot of spots, and it's gonna be exciting to see them, 2 guys that have been compared to each other, at least Gibson to McCaffrey, to see them on the field together.
How well liked by the players is Ron Rivera? That is the simple question, Ben. Do you have a sense? Do you have a guess?
I mean, I think so. Last year, early on, when they were going through their struggles, they started the year 1-5, 2-7. People were immediately saying, "Oh boy, here we go again." And I was noticing that Ron Rivera has a lot of sayings he likes to drop. Things like, "Be where your feet are," "Don't draw me a map unless you've been there." Whatever, hokey or not, it's part of his. I always imagine it's like part of his TED talk if he ever gave one, and we just hear it drip by drip. But what's interesting is how often players repeat it. They will come up and speak to us at the podium before, during, after practice or after a game, and say these things. And that says to me that they are listening. And one thing about Ron Rivera teams is historically over the second half of the year, they improved. That to me says something about a buy-in to the coach. And last year, this team won 5 of its last 7 games to win the terrible NFC East. They just beat arguably the best team in the league, the defending Super Bowl champions. And that's why if they do come out, and I wouldn't say it would be an upset to beat Carolina, but if they come out this week, get the job done, or at a minimum, look resolute in their effort, I think it's another indication of, they really do buy in. I will admit part of the issue this year is, or last couple of years, with no locker room access, we're limited to the interactions we have with the players.
Right. And you can't see it the same way, like those little subtle things when they're not on the podium that you can pick up on and be like, oh, he lost the team, or, oh shit, they're really in.
Exactly. I actually, to be honest, really was questioning kind of where they were this week or last week going into the Tampa Bay, based on a couple little things that I saw. Clearly, whatever I was thinking about it was wrong, because they came out and gave that performance they did.
That's okay, because what I thought about Atlanta going to Dallas is an all-time wrong. So don't worry.
Yeah, but in general, I mean, I do think I think they do buy into him. I generally do think that. But yeah, I mean, winning and losing is a whole other story. I also think, just lastly, I think Taylor Heineke is a big factor in this, in that guy, whatever you want to say his limitations are, he plays hard. He is a gamer. Everybody knows he shows up and leaves it out on the field, as the kids like to say. That, I think, goes a long way towards Rivera buying into him at quarterback, and the guys, at least on offense, seeing, hey, this guy's going to give it his all. I think we have to also.
I've got my answer. It's very clear to me now, Jess. I'm incredibly confident in this.
Okay.
I'm going with a 19-19 tie. I'm incredibly inspired by the Steelers and the Lions, and I'm bringing it here. This is just the makeup of a 19-19 tie. That's firm.
Ron Rivera loves a tie.
He loves
Ron
a good
Rivera
tie.
loves a tie, and he never lost the locker room in Carolina, just to tell you that.
He's a good dude. I think that makes sense to me. Anyway, 19-19 tie, guys. Thank you so much for being on. Yes, sir.
I got one question for you,
Yes, sir.
or it's an Ask Gary V thing.
Go ahead.
This is, how to tell a real fan, a true fan, right? What's the formula?
Ask them the starting offensive line.
All right. Yeah, or 2 offensive line. I have an addendum to that formula.
Please.
I think, can you name 2 offensive linemen that you historically hate, like Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan hate? And if you can name those, then you are a true fan, because I got a couple of them that I would hamstring if I ran into them.
A guy that became an eventually good player, Jason Fabini's first year for the Jets, a left tackle out of the University of Cincinnati, was somebody that I would yell at. There was 2 guys in that little Parcells-y, Algro era. Jason Fabini, a left tackle, who became good, and Marcus Coleman, a corner, who ended up becoming good. And it's really fun to see those people that are your whipping boys, because you're so frustrated as a fan, actually sometimes play out and do something. But yes, I like that, man. And I really appreciate both of you being on, and good luck this week, man.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Thank you. Thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And Gary, FYI, on the DK Sportsbook, you can boost this game going to overtime. It's plus 1,000.
Yeah, that's just too high risk. I'm not going to boost that.
Well, just saying.
All right, give me the Dolphins Jets data.
Okay, Dolphins
Jets.
Jets.
By the way, this is how bad it is in Jets land. Our Dolphins fan that was going to argue with me, I think some sort of conflict of interest or something. Who the heck? The FBI got involved, so they're out. So it's me and you.
Yeah.
You're going to talk about a team two teams you don't like, as they're your division rivals. I'm going to talk about my team. My business partner in Vayner Media, by the way, is none other than Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins. So this game always has a little extra juice on top of the fact that Dan Marino ruined my childhood, and so I hate the Dolphins. Last week was not good. Now we've got the Rex Ryan, Robert Saleh controversy yesterday. There's a lot going on in Jets land.
Yeah. So Dolphins are 3-point road favorites. Totals 44.5. Dolphins minus 160 on the money line. Jets plus 140. I mean, I got a question for you, Gary. Can the Jets offense get back on track against this Dolphins. The Dolphins defense has been really up and down. So like there's a shot. But the question is, who's your quarterback?
Right. We're filming this on Tuesday instead of Wednesday or Thursday, which puts me in a curious spot because Salah will let us know who's quarterbacking this week in the next 24 to 48 hours. Look, whether it's Mike White or Zach, the Jets are decimated defensively, injury-wise. Everyone's like, what happened? What happened is Bryce Huff was one of the core contributors to a pass rush. He's out. JFM hasn't looked the same after he got a little banged up, right? We're on our 7th and 8th safeties. The hell do you think happened? Like we were already incredibly thin. Our starting corner, who was a 6th round or 5th round pick, he just got hurt this week. He's now out 3 to 5 weeks. Like this is a very young, inexperienced, lower level, bottom level talent defense that is massively hurt. Like, and so what's going on is a ton of things. They got a lot of work to do. I actually think they're closer offensively than they are defensively in a lot of ways, because you have seen Elijah Moore and Michael Carter, 2 rookies, really play. That's got to be the Jets. You got to hope that Becton comes back next year and is the Becton of his rookie year. Elijah Vera Tucker has been a huge pleasantry at guard. And you've got Michael Carter, the running back, Michael Carter, the safety to the corner slot. Like he's playing well. So there's a little something in Jets land. I'm not like devastated as it's been real bad. And like this year's a wash. And all I really hope for is Seahawks losses, Carolina losses, and Jets losses at this point, because I just want to load up on those top 45 picks this year because we have 4 of them. And if you hit pay dirt there, I don't feel great about this. I think the Dolphins had had a win that mattered.
Yeah.
On Thursday night. I do like their coach down there, which is devastating. I think their defense, Mike White, I think was quote unquote figured out a little bit this week. Like I think he just was, the pass rush is going to hurt any quarterback, but I think watching the Dolphins, they were dropping back their linebackers. So they're taking away a lot of the underneath stuff. And Mike doesn't, there's a reason Mike White was a 5th round pick and cut and a practice squad player, because some of the deeper throws are a challenge. And I'm worried about this game.
So here's the thing. Like, even if the Jets lose this week, right? Is it going to tell you a lot about this team and Salah as a coach if they at least keep it competitive?
I got to be honest with you. I think that there is, I'm actually quite calm about it. I actually think if you look at what's going on, like I think Salah is establishing his culture. He's a 1st-year coach. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not your team yet. Some people walk into great situations like a Rex Ryan. Oh, by the way, others don't, like a Salah. And so he had a lot of work to do. Joe Douglas had a lot of work to do. People talk about how long Joe Douglas was around. People forget that Joe Douglas was hired 3 weeks after an NFL draft, which is insane, really poorly done by the Jets. So they're both, Joe Douglas has had 2 drafts. This is Salah's 1st year. I believe in these men. I really do. And listen, I was insanely down on Mike McCagnon. I, in general, am a little bit empathetic to head coaches. I give them a year, always, or 2. I'm pretty optimistic about what I'm seeing. There was glimmers. I don't think this game means anything. Jets lose 47-0. And I don't think this means much for next year's Salah's head coach thing. Now, I'm also sitting with way more knowledge than most. Unlike Ben, who was just on, I get to talk to a lot of Jets players, on a friendship level, on things of that nature. Like, and all of them are professionals. They don't give me dirt, even when they hated gays. But I'm smart, and I'm a big boy, and I've been around the block. And I'm not worried about, I think everybody kind of had a feeling of what they're signing up for this year. People are playing hard. We're just banged up and not overly talented to begin with. And, and we're just feeling and there is no feelings in the NFL. These teams are going to come out and try to put you into the ground. And so I think the Dolphins are going to win, and I think they're going to win 27-11.
27-11. Okay. Well, I think it's a little more high scoring than that. I think it's going to be 35-24 Dolphins win.
Wow. Why do you feel like so much scoring will happen?
Because the Jets defense
It's
is
terrible.
just,
Yes.
yeah.
What about the Jets? What makes you feel like they're going to come out with a 24-point performance against a defense that could shut them out if they play hot?
yeah, I just feel like they've got to be in a little bit of a bounce back spot. Like the pressure's on right now after what happened to them last week. I mean, it kind of feels like what happens to them every week. But I mean, the last 4 weeks, the Jets have allowed a total of 175 points.
And that is the most points over a 4-game span since like the 66 Giants or sort of the merger.
No, it's the second most, Gary. Don't worry.
Oh, right.
Not the
The
first.
Right. Didn't the 04 Titans or something do something?
Yeah, it was somebody, but it was. So don't
Listen,
worry.
I know what I'm doing when I'm watching these games. I'm in a very precarious spot. That's my thing. What can I boost? What are the over under?
Yeah. So we got some things to boost here. The total's 44.5, but we got both teams to score 15 plus. We could boost that. That is, we have longest touchdown, 39.5 yards, over or under that.
Oh, let's boost that because the Dolphins will score touchdown over 39.5 yards, and we haven't done one like this. So I'm going to boost that. The Dolphins will score a touchdown over 39 yards.
All right.
And maybe the
Then
Jets
that,
will.
yeah,
I mean,
like that.
If Zach plays, he goes for that play every time.
And yeah, if the Jets do it, you win. See, I like that boost because it's if the Dolphins do it, you win. If the Jets do it, you win. That's a great one.
Yeah, you just watch football hoping for one big touchdown.
Yeah.
Boost it up.
Well, yeah, we're going to boost that one. And just really quick, as hopefully everyone who's watching is aware, we have a free to play listener league DFS contest each week. Of course, the winner is going to take home a card from Gary's personal collection. And this week it's Michael Irvin rookie cards. So make sure that you join that. Look at the DraftKings socials for links to the contest. And thanks for joining us, Gary. I know you're so busy, man. So you're the best.
Happy to do it. Love you guys. Talk to you next week. See ya.
If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in Illinois, Indiana, New Jersey, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wyoming. 1-800-522-4700 in New Hampshire and Colorado. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Idaho. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 1-800-532-3500 in Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call and text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789 or call 888-789-7777 and visit ccpg.org/chat for Connecticut. Available to play in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia only. Must be 21 years or older or 18 plus in New Hampshire and Wyoming. For entertainment purposes only. No results guaranteed. Void where prohibited. Eligibility restrictions apply. See www.draftkings.com/sportsbook for full details. Odds and lines are subject to change.